How much does AB's behavior compare to T.O.'s?
They're not the same. T.O. never missed practice. T.O. never missed meetings. T.O. never refused to go in the game. T.O. never, ever got in trouble off the field.
Nope, he did not.
So for me, that should shut the door. The production on the field, I think T.O. was more productive.
I don't know, Antonio, for
Skip,
that stretch in Pittsburgh with Roethlisberger.
He was, but I think, Skip, but you think about it, T.O. was a first-team All-Pro. Only 3 men in the history of the game have been a first-team All-Pro with 3 different teams. 2 of the 3 were first-ballot Hall of Famers. One, you know him very well, you covered him, Deion Sanders, prime. The other was Ted Hendricks. Was a first-team All-Pro with 3 different teams. Terrell Owens has that on his resume.
Okay, I give you that.
For me, Skip, I just think I hope they call T.O. Because T.O. won't let this go.
No.
T.O. just turned 48, and he still believes he can play. I want Tampa to do me a favor. Derek Brooks, you still good in Tampa. Sapp, you still good in Tampa. Call B.A., call Jason Light, and say, give him a workout. So that way we can put this to bed and T.O. can move on. And stop going out there with a helmet on and saying, I want to do it. But I want to see him do it. I want someone to give him an opportunity so he can either prove he can do it or prove he can't do it and we can move on. But Skip, I think the only similarity is, yes, we've seen T.O. throw things on the sideline. We've seen him get very upset, become very animated on the sideline, just like Antonio Brown. But Skip, I believe that's where the similarities start. That's where the similarities start. But after that, nothing.
Okay, I'm going to start with you scoffing at Terrell playing football right now at age 48. I don't scoff at that, given this circumstance. Listen, I believe he is in the best shape of any 48-year-old
Oh, absolutely.
in the world.
Yes.
Supreme condition.
Yes.
And he works hard at it because he really believes in his heart of heart. He's clinging to somebody's going to call
he believes he can still play. Yes, Skip, he 1,000%. Some people say
to play.
Yes.
So if Tom Brady bought into that, I believe that he could step in right now and produce at some level. He could catch, I don't know, 3 balls for 45 yards, whatever it might be from Tom Brady. And I believe he'd be an addition to this team.
But the difference is, Skip, you do realize, like, a receiver take hits.
I got it. But it's not like he's never taken one before. It's not like he's never played
it's been 11
football.
years.
I got it. And you're probably right about that. But I don't dismiss that. Look, I've had my issues with T.O., but there's much to admire about this man, and there's much that I like about him.
Yeah.
We've had him on the show pre-pandemic when we could get him to come in here. I always enjoy his company, and I enjoy sparring with him even when we spar. We had him on at the Super Bowl in, was it Miami, the last time we went before a live crowd? It was just fun. I just have fun with it. But here's the point. They are very different, but in impact, they both had very negative effects on football teams. And I'm sorry, I was there in San Francisco when all this started. And early on, I supported him publicly on TV and in newspaper and print. I supported T.O. because I loved his talent. It's phenomenal. I always talk about the rage with which he ran. It's just like catch it and run. You want to talk about yards after catch?
Yeah, he was tremendous.
He was hard to get on the ground, man. So the point was, I had one leader after another of those 49er teams in those couple of years pull me aside and say, you have no idea how hard he is to deal with inside this locker room. And after a while, it's just it's more trouble than it's worth. So what happened? He turned on Jeff Garcia, who was pretty great, man. He was making a bunch of Pro Bowls. And you can say it's because of Terrell, and you could be right. But remember, he turned on him and took a personal shot at him. And then he ranted up and down in front of Greg Knapp. It was the Randy Moss game at Minnesota. So Randy was just humiliating Terrell in performance because he just took the game over. And Terrell wanted more balls, and then he's campaigning after the game for Tim Rattay to replace Jeff Garcia. And it got so ugly that Terry Donahue, to whom I was close at that point, he told me he's just more trouble than he's worth. We got to move him. We got to get him out of here. He's great, but we can't tolerate this anymore. And that's when I nicknamed him Team Obliterator, T.O. And he goes to Philadelphia, and I think, okay, they love him. Their arms are wide. You know, remember that big opening media press conference with Andy Reid, and Andy called him Terrell Owens. He says, no, Coach, it's Terrell. And I said, uh-oh, here we go. And then he and Donovan were so close. They were soulmates, roommates in camp. And then you remember what happened. It fell all apart, and Donovan didn't support him enough in contractual battles. and Terrell turned on him as hard as you can turn on somebody, and it just got ugly. Then he had an altercation with Brad Childers, who was then the offensive coordinator, and it got so bad that Andy Reid sent Terrell home. And remember, we got the video of him lifting weights in his driveway. Well, they just said, we'll just send you home. You're whatever that list is called, you're on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then he winds up, Jerry Jones says, I'll take some of that because I can sell that. Get your popcorn ready. And Bill Parcells despised the move and wouldn't even speak Terrell's name to the media. He just called him the player.
Right.
And they had a big clash over whether Terrell was hurt or not. Remember, at training camp, Terrell winds up putting on a Lance Armstrong costume and sitting on a bicycle just to defy Bill Parcells. Remember that?
I do remember that, Skip.
And then he has a big knockdown, drag out with Todd Haley, who was then the receivers coach, that got ugly, according to my sources. And then Jason Witten got so upset with him for suggesting that Romo was throwing more balls to Jason Witten. Does this sound familiar? And Jason challenged him, according to a source who was on the team at that point, to a fight before practice. He said, let's just do it right here, right now, in front of everybody. Let's just get it over with, me and you, right here, right now. And Terrell wanted no part of that, and I don't blame him for that.
Well, T.O. tells a very different story. Say he never had a problem with Jason Witten, and he never challenged Jason Witten. But I will say this, Skip. Look, I just think the thing is that I think anytime we see when Tom Brady does what he does on the sideline, that's passion. T.O. did what he did on the sideline. He's been a malcontent. And that's what we got.
It was more what he said after the game, because he campaigned for his Pro Bowl quarterback to be replaced by the backup.
Okay, that's fine. And I think the thing, a lot of times we don't think about the ramifications. Skip, I remember when he said, he was in Philly, and what really caused the fallout was that he was doing an interview, and he said Brett Favre, Brett Favre would be a little better than Donovan McNabb. You have to understand, you can't say, no matter how great that quarterback is over there, you can't say he's better than the quarterback that you're currently playing with, even if it's true.
Yeah, and by the way, you reminded me of one more story. Hugh Douglas flat out told me, one-on-one, that he had a big...
They had a disagreement.
Yeah, in the locker room.
Hughes with Team Donovan,
and Hughes said, let's just do it right now, and Terrell wanted no part of that, and I don't blame him. But the point is, he could split teams. That's why I said team obliterator, because half the team would be for Terrell, half would be against it. Well, AB doesn't do that, but to Terrell's credit, all that you said, there's zero off the field. Like there's no allegations, there's no police blotter, there's nothing. That's all AB.
I think AB did split Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I think with that behavior, not coming to practice and missing meetings, and they see Mike Tomlin making concession after concession, I think it did start to rub some of those guys the wrong way, because they're like, we can't win like this.
Okay.
This is not how you win football games. And then he goes and he does the same thing. I think the thing is, you look at T.O. T.O. was productive. He goes to Buffalo, and he's like 100 yards short of 1,000 yards. He goes to Cincinnati. And Ocho Cinco's in his prime, and he beat him.
He did.
He out-caught him. And
then he went to Seattle, and I thought Pete Carroll was going to feature him and say, let's go, but it was going to be Russell as a rookie starter, remember?
Yes. Yep.
And he cut him like early in camp.
In camp.
Yep.
So for me, Skip, the question is, T.O. had to wait 3 years to get into the Hall of Fame.
He did.
With A.B. antics on the sideline, because now that can be called into question. That's the T.O. rule.
Probably right.
You can question meeting rooms and on field and sidelines. And with his behavior off the field, Skip, how long is A.B. going to have to wait if T.O. had to wait 3 years?
It's a great question.
Given what we just saw Sunday.
It's a great question. Maybe the same.
He's going to have to wait longer than that.
By the way, allow me, I've told Terrell this to his face. I'm very happy he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he should have been the first ballot. Remember, we talked about it, Skip. Even though he did all those antics, his play says he should have been a first ballot.
Yep, I'll buy that. You can make a case for AB.
Yeah,
first ballot.
Yeah. His number says yes.
Yep.
But the voter, see, for me, Skip, if I was a voter, I'm throwing all that aside. What did this man do on the field?
Okay. And by the way, thanks in part to Tom Brady, they together won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he was, I think AB was a model citizen, because we didn't hear a peep out of him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so he did do that.
He did.
Got that on his resume.
Yes, he has.
And that's why it's highly possible that another GM's going to say, I'll try that.
Skip, those leading the league in receiving yards and touchdowns and catches. That means something.
Yep.
I mean, he's an all-decades player. You don't get to be all-decade if you're not good. All-decade. There are 100 receivers.
Yep.
He's first team all-decade. That speaks volumes to just what Antonio Brown was in the 2010s.
Yep. I agree. In the end, this is off the field. T.O. to me is a better guy than Antonio. Like, T.O. has a good heart to him. So that's just me.
Right.
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
No, I hear that.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.